Hey, this is Kim and Kashayla coming back to you with some information on buying and selling in today's market. I'm Kimberly Moses with Realty One Group.
I'm Kashayla with Caliber Home Loans.
We're going to tell you today about contingencies. Contingencies are protections in place for buyers to give them the ability to investigate a property, get an appraisal on property, and get loan approval in order to buy that property. These are built-in timelines that allow you to cancel on a transaction if you find something along the way that isn't working for you. In this market, contingencies are really important because appraisals are a big issue with houses selling over asking. So generally when we go $20,000 to $30,000 over asking, appraisals aren't as much of an issue. But once you go over that $30,000 mark, you start to run into a situation where the appraisal might not match your purchase price. So what happens is, if the appraisal comes in lower than your purchase price, somebody has to make up that difference. Either the buyer comes up in their price in cash, or the seller comes down, or you meet in the middle somewhere. But in today's market, we're really not seeing a lot of seller concessions, and we are seeing a lot of buyers having to come up to make that difference up. So what that means for buyers is cash out of pocket. Another reason why you should be pre-approved and pre-qualified before you shop for homes, so that you know how much you have the ability to make those kinds of offers.
Yeah, because when it comes down to the lending side of things, is if your property, say you want to buy it for $400,000 and the appraisal comes in for $380,000, well, as a loan officer, we're only lending on the lower of the two, either the appraised value or the purchase price. So if there's a discrepancy or difference in that, either the seller's bringing the price down or the buyer's coming up in cash out of pocket. So if you have your down payment plus closing costs, if that appraisal came in $10,000 low, you'd be coming in with $10,000 over and above in cash out of pocket.
So that's the appraisal contingency, some of the things to think about when writing your offers. There's also an inspection contingency where you have the ability to inspect the property. You know, generally we do a whole home inspection, a pest inspection, sometimes roof and HVAC, and the list can go on and on from there. We are seeing in this competitive market that removing inspection contingencies, or which is kind of this is another thing that gets into writing offers and the details of it, but you can offer to take the property in as-is condition and still do your inspections. So the inspection contingency can be waived. You can still do inspections, but you are agreeing to take the property in as-is condition, essentially.
And another thing that you need to be mindful of when doing so is, depending upon what loan type you go with, may require certain inspections or may not require inspections. So like, for instance, on a VA loan, is you have to have an appraisal on pretty much any loan. Because obviously we're lending on the collateral, and if you don't make your mortgage payment, we're taking it back and we would sell that collateral to then recoup the cost for the loan. So with VA, you are required to have an appraisal, but then you're also required to have a pest inspection, and we also have to make sure that all of those pest repairs are completed that are affecting the Section 1 of that pest report. Now on FHA and conventional, we don't need a pest report, so we don't need an inspection. That's an optional inspection for you. But typically the appraisal is going to be the inspection that I care most about. All the other ones are going to be for your kind of feel good, making sure that you're buying the house that you feel comfortable with.
Right. And on the note of the pest inspection, you can waive the inspection contingency for a VA loan and still do the pest inspection. However, you're most likely going to be covering, as the buyer, covering the cost of any repairs in that situation. Now we can always go to the seller and ask them to help out with the costs. There's no harm in doing that, but we can't guarantee that they would actually contribute. So it kind of just depends on case-by-case basis.
And the way that we can kind of circumvent putting you at risk is basically going through that inspection process, and then at the very end, that bill for that particular service is going to be a part of your closing costs. So you come to your closing table, you bring in your cash to close, and then we disperse them accordingly.
The third contingency that we have in place is the loan contingency. And this is your ability to qualify for the loan. So Kashayla, a great lender like Kashayla, is going to look at all of your information up front. Not all lenders do this. But a good lender should be looking at all your information up front. And so we're gonna have a pretty good idea on if you qualify for the loan or not. Now, things that would cause you to not qualify for the loan would be losing your job. What else?
Don't retire. Definitely don't retire halfway through the transaction.
Don't buy a car.
Don't buy a car. If you're planning on doing any change with your income, your assets, anything of that nature, if you're going to get new debt, if your car, you need to buy a new car, always contact your lender. Say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, so that we can adjust that pre-approval, because the last thing that we want to do is get you pre-approved, you think you're all good, you get out there, you get in a contract, and then we go to pull new credit or update something, and you're like, oh, sorry, I bought a car, and now I have another $400 payment, and now you don't qualify.
Right. So, contingencies, super, super important in writing offers. There's 3 main ones: inspections, appraisal, and loan. When you have a great real estate agent and a great loan officer, you have nothing to worry about.